Hi students, in this session we are going to discuss about the topic Fourier transforms. Fourier transforms. Okay. So in Fourier transforms, the first topic is deriving Fourier transform from Fourier series. Deriving Fourier transform from Fourier series. Up to now, we discussed about the Fourier series completely. Okay. So what is a Fourier series representation and what are the types of Fourier series, okay, and what is Fourier spectrum and equations or representation for different types of Fourier series, everything. So I completed everything with respect to the Fourier series. Now today we are going for the Fourier transform, that is we are deriving Fourier transform from Fourier series. Okay, this is today's topic. So before going to the topic, I want to give a small introduction about this Fourier transforms. Small introduction. So we will go for the introduction about this Fourier transform. So before going to the introduction of this Fourier transform, what you know about Fourier series? What you know about Fourier series? We all know the Fourier series are applicable only for periodic signals. We all know Fourier series are applicable for periodic signals. Applicable for periodic signals only. Okay. This is a major drawback or the limitation of this Fourier series, because this is applicable only for periodic signals. That is, this Fourier series is not applicable for a non-periodic or aperiodic signals. For non-periodic or aperiodic, we can't use this Fourier series. Okay, but most of the signals which are available in nature, are aperiodic or non-periodic. So most of the naturally available signals are aperiodic or are non-periodic. So most of the signals available in nature, most of the naturally available signals are aperiodic or non-periodic. Both are same. So another name for aperiodic is non-periodic. For these generally available natural signals, we can't use this Fourier series. As most of the signals are aperiodic, we are not able to use the Fourier series. So we are going for the next technique, that is Fourier transform. Okay. This Fourier transform is mostly used to analyze this aperiodic or non-periodic signals. This Fourier transform is mostly used to analyze this aperiodic or non-periodic signals, and this Fourier transform can also be used to analyze periodic signals also. This Fourier transforms is also used to analyze periodic signals. Okay, here simply saying the Fourier transform is used to analyze both aperiodic and periodic signals, but it is mostly used to analyze aperiodic signals. Why? Because we have Fourier series there for the periodic signals. So for aperiodic signals we can't use the Fourier series. For that reason we are going to the another technique, nothing but Fourier transform, which is used for aperiodic signals. Okay, that means the Fourier transform is mostly used to analyze the aperiodic signals, and here this Fourier transform is also used to analyze the periodic signals also. That is, it is applicable for both. That is, Fourier transform is applicable for both aperiodic and periodic signals. Okay, but we mainly go with respect to the aperiodic signals for Fourier transforms. That is, Fourier transform is mostly used for aperiodic or non-periodic signals. Okay, now here this Fourier transform, this Fourier transform This Fourier transform is a transformation technique. Is a transformation techniques which transform the signals from continuous time domain to the frequency domain. Continuous time domain representation to the frequency domain, and vice versa. So this Fourier transform is a transformation technique used to transform the signals from continuous time domain to the frequency domain and vice versa. That is, we can convert the signals from time domain representation to the frequency domain representation and vice versa. So this is the function of this Fourier transform, what the Fourier transform will perform. Okay, here we have different types of Fourier transform. There are continuous time Fourier transform, discrete time Fourier transform, or simply discrete Fourier transform. We have continuous time Fourier transform, discrete time Fourier transform, and discrete Fourier transform. In these three, here we are going to discuss completely about continuous time Fourier transform. Continuous time Fourier transform. Okay, so here everything what we discuss is with respect to continuous time Fourier transform. That means I am going to explain the topic of continuous time Fourier transform. I am going to derive the equations with respect to this continuous time Fourier transform. Just for our convenience, I will call this as simply Fourier transform instead of continuous time Fourier transform. So every time if I want to say continuous time Fourier transform, it will take a little bit time. So simply for our convenience, I will consider this as Fourier transform. That means here for all the derivations or the equations we get are with respect to this continuous time Fourier transform. Just for our convenience, I will simply call them as Fourier transform. Okay, I will call right from now as Fourier transform instead of continuous time Fourier transform. Okay, now these Fourier transforms are used. It is an extensively used mathematical tool. It is used for analyzing linear time invariant system. So these Fourier transforms are used in analysis of linear time invariant systems, and these are used in signal processing or signal analysis, or this can be used in cryptography. So these are the various applications where we use this Fourier transform. That means here the Fourier transforms is a mathematical tool, extremely or extensively used mathematical tool, and it is used for the analysis of linear time invariant systems. LTI systems, and it is used for the signal processing and signal analysis and the cryptography, etc. So in radar also we can use this Fourier transforms. So this Fourier transform have wide range of applications. I had given some of the applications. We had a wide range. So those are signal processing, signal analysis, analysis of linear time invariant systems, cryptography, etc. There are wide range of applications where we can use this Fourier transforms. Okay, this is the just a small introduction about Fourier transform. That is why we came to the Fourier transform from Fourier series. This is a small introduction. We all know how to derive a Fourier series representation or equation. So we all know how to derive the Fourier series representation of a continuous time period x of t. Now we will go to derive the Fourier transform from Fourier series. We all know how to derive the Fourier series representation of a continuous time period x of t. Now we are going to derive Fourier transform from Fourier series. So for that, to explain, I am calling the Fourier transform representation of a non-periodic functions. That means first we have to get the non-periodic function from periodic functions. Okay, so first I have to get the non-periodic. How to get the non-periodic functions? Okay, what is the spectrum of those things? So we have to explain all this. That is the Fourier transform representation of non-periodic functions. So to get the Fourier transform from the Fourier series, first I will consider a periodic function, because Fourier series is applicable for periodic functions. So I had taken a periodic signal x of t like this, x of t like this. So here this is 0 and this is capital T. So this is 0 to t capital is the a period of this signal. Let us take here the waveform start here, goes like this and goes on, and here there is a 1 period. After that the same will repeat like this, goes on and like this. So it repeats after every period t, and it is a length of tau, and this is plus tau by 2 and this is minus tau. So I had taken a arbitrary signal x of t as shown in the figure, so which is a periodic. Okay, now I can draw the spectrum for this one. I can draw the spectrum. So I explained the concept of Fourier spectrum, that by using that I can draw the spectrum of this one. So here the spectrum will have a spectral lines at the discrete frequencies. So the spectrum is with respect to the frequency and the Fourier series coefficient. The spectrum is with respect to Fourier series coefficient and frequency, that is amplitude of the Fourier series coefficient and the frequency. So here I can take f or omega, because omega equal to 2 pi f. You can consider f or you can consider omega also here. Okay, so while explaining the frequency spectrum concepts, I explained with respect to omega. Here I am explaining with respect to f. We all know that omega equal to 2 pi f. Okay, so I had taken the amplitude of the Fourier coefficients, Fourier series coefficients on y-axis, and I have taken the frequency on x-axis. This frequency is a discrete one. Okay, now the gap between the adjacent spectral lines is nothing but a frequency f naught. Okay, here the f naught is the space between the adjacent spectral lines. Adjacent spectral lines, that is nothing but our f naught. Okay, so for the given waveform I gone for the spectrum. The spectrum is nothing but the plot of amplitude of this Fourier series coefficient with respect to the frequency. Okay, we all know that the frequency is discrete. Discrete frequency, we get 0, f naught, 2 f naught, 3 f naught, 4 f naught, 5 f naught. We get like this. Okay, for that reason the gap between the adjacent spectral lines, the space between the adjacent spectral lines is nothing but our f naught. Okay, simple. Here we have taken the length of this one as tau, and here also we get minus tau by 2 and plus tau by 2. For that respective values are minus 1 by tau and plus 1 by tau. Okay, we get the respective values like that. Okay, so here the main concept is how to get a non-periodic function from this one. Okay, so here now can anyone observe, this is f naught. F naught is nothing but the space between two adjacent spectral lines, and the value of this f naught will be equal to 1 by capital T. So here the value of this f naught, that is 1 by, the value of f naught is 1 by T. That is, the adjacent spectral lines are separated by the frequency interval f naught, and whose value is equal to 1 by T, that is f naught equal to 1 by T. Let us say if I increase the time period, if I increase the time period t value, if I increase the time period t value, that is if I double the time period, then what happens? F naught will be reduced to half. F naught will be reduced to half. If I increase the time for 4 times, the f naught will be reduced by 4 times. That is, if I goes on increasing the t, because these are inversely proportional. That is, if the time period of the signal is increased, here the time taken to complete one full cycle, that is from this point to this point, from this point to this point is t. If t is doubled, that is, if the t is like here, then the signal will goes on up to this point, that is from here the t is up to here. Okay, I increased the t, so the signal starts here and that is t. Let us take that is t is doubled. Automatically the f naught will be reduced to half, because these are inversely proportional. So it is increased twice means it is reduced twice. That is, it is doubled means it is will be half. So the gap will be half. So if here 1, 2, 3, 4, we will get 8. We will get 8. If it is increased by 4 times, it is reduced by 4 times, then we will get 16. So we have 16. That is, the adjacent spectral lines interval, the gap or the space between the adjacent spectral lines will be reduced. This f naught will be reduced. That is, if t is double, this will become as half. If t is increased by 4 times, 4t, then it will be reduced by 4 times, f naught by 4. So the gap between the space between the two spectral lines will be very, very small. In this way, see the third diagram. Okay, here in this diagram, I increase the value of t. I increase the value of t. So the spectral lines are closer to each other. Here, see, the f naught value has been reduced. Why? Because I increased the value of t. As I increased the value of t, the gap between the spectral lines are reduced. Space is reduced. Why? Because f naught equal to 1 by t. If I increase this t somewhat, if I increase this one, what happens? What happens? Then f naught will further reduce. That means these lines will come somewhat closer like this. If I increase the t further, what happens? The gap will be reduced. Then this is f naught. Gap will be reduced. If I increase the t further, what happens? Again the gap will be reduced. Again the gap will be reduced. The gap will be reduced. Okay. If I increase further, that means if I make t tends to infinity, if I make the capital T tends to infinity, what happens? This will become as a continuous waveform. Because as t tends to infinity, f naught is very, very small, very infinitesimally small, almost zero. There is no spacing between these two spectral lines. There will be no spacing between these two spectral lines. There will be no spacing. That means there isn't any space. We will get a continuous waveform. There will be no gap at all. At anywhere there will be no gap. That is like continuous waveform. We will get a continuous. So this case is for t tends to infinity. As t tends to infinity, the f naught value will be very, very small, very infinitesimally small, almost zero. That means there is no gap between the two spectral lines. That is, the frequency interval is very, very small. Hence, the spectrum will be a continuous one. Whenever t tends to infinity. See, so if this is the time period t for the continuous time signal x of t, as t tends to infinity, as t is increased, that is, the length of this pulse will be increased. As t is increased, the length of this pulse will be increased. As t is somewhat increased, the length of the pulse is somewhat increased. If t tends to infinity, then the length of the pulse will also be infinity. So there will be no repetition of the pulse. Hence, this will become as a non-periodic signal. As t tends to infinity, the signal will become as this signal as t tends to infinity, this signal will become as non-periodic. So if the value of this t is, because see, for one pulse it is taking the time t. Now I am increasing the t double. So for one pulse it is taking here time. If t is infinity, so for one pulse it is taking an infinite value. So there is no repetition. Hence this periodic signal will become as a non-periodic signal. As t tends to infinity, the periodic signal will convert to non-periodic signal. And the spectrum of the non-periodic signal is continuous. The spectrum is continuous. Simply here for periodic signal, I draw the spectrum. Okay, in the spectrum we have the spectral lines. So the space between the adjacent spectral lines is nothing but the frequency interval f naught. As I increase the time period capital T, the space f naught will be reduced. So like this. If I increase t to the infinity, I have set the t to the infinity, so the f naught is infinitesimally small, very, very small value, almost zero. So there will be no space. That means the spectrum will be a continuous spectrum. Continuous spectrum. Okay. This is when if t tends to infinity. So here in the given signal, as for each pulse it is taking t. If t is increased 2t, so for each pulse it is taking 2t. If t tends to infinity, so for one pulse it is taking an infinite period. So there is no repetition. Hence, this waveform will become as, the periodic signal will become as a non-periodic signal. Simply, if we make the capital time period, capital T, if we make the time period capital T to infinity, the periodic signal will be converted into non-periodic signal, because periodic signal is the one which repeats itself after a particular time, capital T. So after T it has to repeat. After T it has to. Now I made the T as infinite. So there is no chance of repetition. Hence it will become as a non-periodic signal. So the periodic signal has been converted to non-periodic signal. For that non-periodic signal, the spectrum is a continuous spectrum. That means here I won't get the frequency. For periodic, this is the spectrum and the values are 0, 0, next f0, 2f0, 3f0, 4f0, like this. But here, as t tends to infinity, this is a continuous. The spectrum is continuous. As it is continuous, there we don't need to write f0, 2f0, 3f0, 4f0. So for all this place, I can write directly as f. That is, this is for this we have f, because here the first frequency 0f0, 1f0, 2f0, 3f0, 4f0, 5f0. But here this is continuous. That is, for all the values of frequency, I have the spectrum. So I can replace this with f, or simply for your better understanding, if there is n f0, so there is no need to write n f0. I will directly write f. So it is with respect to frequency. If you want to write this with respect to angular frequency omega. So if we take omega here and we have 0, 1 omega naught, 2 omega naught, 3 omega naught, like that. So we have n omega naught. So this is for the spectrum of an periodic signal. Now I change t tends to infinity, because the spectrum will become as a continuous spectrum. There is no 0 omega naught, there is no 1 omega naught, there is no. I have the value of that spectrum for all values of omega. So at t tends to infinity, this n omega naught changes to omega, and the periodic function will changes to non-periodic. So as t tends to infinity, this waveform will become a non-periodic, and for that non-periodic signal, the spectrum is continuous. So there is no need to write the discrete values like 0 omega naught, 1 omega naught, 2 omega naught. So it is a continuous one. So continuous one means this n omega naught will be replaced for omega. If it is n f naught, it will be replaced with f. I hope you are all clear with this one. Okay, because this is the important criteria. This is the important point that will be used while I go for the deriving Fourier transform from Fourier series. So while I deriving the Fourier transform from Fourier series, this is the important point I will take. Okay. Now, first, what I did there, I had taken an arbitrary signal x of t. Okay, arbitrary periodic signal x of t. For that, I gone for the spectrum. Okay, so I draw the spectrum. So in this spectrum, I have the spectral lines. The adjacent spectral lines are separated by the frequency interval f naught. And f naught value, we all know that 1 by t. So these spectral lines we get at 0, 0 f naught, 1 f naught, 2 f naught, 3 f naught, 4 f naught. Okay, so like this, f naught, 2 f naught, 3 f naught, like this. Now I increase it, I double the time period. If I double the time period of the signal, what happens? Automatically the f naught will be reduced to half. So this will be reduced to half. If I increase it 4 times, reduced by 4 times. If I made it to the time period as infinity, the f will be infinitesimally small. That is almost 0. That is, there is no gap between two adjacent spectral lines. There is no gap. One will be side of the other one. One will be side of the other one. One will be side of. That is, there will be no gap. Hence, it will become as an continuous spectrum. Okay. So as time tends to infinity, the spectrum will be continuous. There is no need to take f0, 2f0, 3f0 because we have the signal for all values. Hence, I will, in place of n f0, I will give for f. At t tends to infinity, come to the pulse given signal. So for one pulse, it is taking a time period t. If I increase the time period, so if it is 2t, that period is something 2t. So if it takes the time 2t to complete one full cycle. If the period is infinite, that is t is infinite. That means it takes infinite to complete one full cycle. Infinite time. T tends to infinity. So the t is time taken to complete one full cycle. So here it is infinite. So it will be taken infinite. That is, there will be no repetition. Hence, that will become as an non-periodic signal. So as t tends to infinity, the periodic signal will convert to non-periodic signal, and at that case, for a non-periodic signal, the spectrum is continuous. There we don't take n f0, we'll directly take f. In the same way, if we use for the frequency, we won't take n omega naught, we'll directly take omega. Clear? So by using these concepts, now I will derive the Fourier transform from Fourier series. Before going to that, I want to mention you a small point. Okay, I will ask you one question. Here, consider an aperiodic signal. X of t. I am considering an aperiodic signal x of t. Okay. How can I get an aperiodic signal from a periodic signal? How can I get a periodic signal from a periodic signal? So, this is periodic signal. Let us take the periodic signal as xt of t. Consider the periodic signal as xt of t, where this capital T is the period. That is, this is a periodic signal with period capital T. So this x capital T of t, x capital T of small t is a periodic signal with period capital T. Now, how can I get an aperiodic signal from this one? How can I? Whenever, if I make this a period to infinity, make this period to infinity, then I will get an aperiodic signal. That is simply, I can write like this: limit capital T tends to infinity xt of t. If I write like this, then it will be an aperiodic signal. Here I consider the aperiodic signal is x of t. So this x of t will be equal to limit capital T tends to infinity xt of small t. So this is the relation between an periodic and aperiodic signal. So I can use that relation. Simply, I'm again explaining this concept. Okay. So here I consider this as an periodic signal with period capital T. I am representing that periodic signal with period capital T as x capital T of small t. Okay. Now from this, I want to get the aperiodic signal. What I have to do? I have to make this period to infinity. So for that reason, I am writing limit t tends to infinity. So here t tends to infinity. That means the period is not t here. The period is infinity. What happens? This continuous time period signal will convert to the continuous non-periodic signal. That is aperiodic signal. Converts to non-periodic. If I represent the non-periodic as x of t, so that period as non-x of t, then this will be equal to the non-periodic signal x of t. That's what I have written. So x of t equal to limit t tends to infinity xt of t. Okay. So this is the relation between the periodic and non-periodic signals. I will use these concepts and this n omega naught tends to omega. I will use all these concepts and I will derive the Fourier transform from Fourier series. Now we'll go for that one. Derivation. We'll go for the derivation of Fourier transform from Fourier series. Okay. Now we'll go for deriving the Fourier transform from Fourier series. Deriving the Fourier transform from Fourier series. deriving the Fourier transform from Fourier series. So this derivation is the important one. Okay. Here, for deriving the Fourier transform from Fourier series, I have to consider an periodic signal as well as an aperiodic signal. So first, let us consider or represent an aperiodic signal with x of t. X of t. Why? Because this Fourier transform is mostly used for aperiodic signals. For that reason, I am considering an aperiodic signal, aperiodic or non-periodic function as x of t, a periodic or non-periodic function as x of t. I'm considering like this, and I'm considering the periodic function, and I'm considering the periodic function as x t of small t, that is x capital T of small t. So this is the periodic function, is the periodic function with period capital T. So consider the periodic function with period capital T as xt of t. So this is a periodic function with capital T as period, and this is the non-periodic signal, and these two are related as. So their relation will be given as, the relation is given as x of t will be equal to limit t tends to infinity, x capital T of small t. So I explained you just a few minutes back. So as t tends to infinity, this periodic will be converted to aperiodic. Hence I written the aperiodic signal x of t will be equal to limit t tends to infinity, x of capital T of small t. Okay, so this is the one. Now first I will start with this periodic signal. So we all know the periodic signal, a Fourier series representation. So what is the Fourier series representation of the periodic signal? Xt of t. So there, in the previous classes, while deriving the Fourier series, I had taken the signal as x of t. But here, our periodic signal is represented with xt of t. So instead of x of t, I have to consider as x capital T of t. X capital T of t. So this is the periodic signal. For this, I want to write the Fourier series representation. So you can take the general Fourier series representation. That is exponential Fourier series representation. That is summation n equal to minus infinity to plus infinity Cn e power j n omega naught t. So this is the Fourier series representation of a continuous time periodic signal xt of t. So there I had taken the periodic signal as x of t. Here I had taken the periodic signal as xt of t. So in place of x of t, I had taken xt of t. X capital T of t equal to summation n equal to minus infinity Cn e power j n omega naught t, where the Cn is the Fourier series coefficient. We all know the value of this Fourier series coefficient. That Cn will be given as Cn equal to what is the formula for that one? 1 by t integral. We have to write t0 to t0 plus t. We have to write t0 to t0 plus t. In place of t0, if you substitute 0, that becomes 0 to t0 plus t. That becomes 0 to t0 plus t. Okay. In place of t0, if you substitute minus t by 2, that becomes minus t by 2 to plus t by 2. Minus t by 2 to plus t by 2. Okay. So here the limits you can take as 0 to t or minus t by 2 to plus t by 2. So here I am considering here we go for let t0 equal to minus t by 2, minus capital T by 2. Then the limits are minus t by 2 to plus t by 2, minus t by 2 to plus t by 2. If we take t0 equal to 0, then I can limits as 0 to capital T, or we can directly write t0 to t0 plus capital T. So there I have write 0 to t. So in some cases I can write t0 to t0 plus t. Here I am writing minus t by 2 to plus t by 2. The period is t. into the period signal. The period signal is x t of t, that is the given signal, into e power minus j and omega naught t dt. Omega naught t dt. Here Cn is nothing but the amplitude of the frequency component n omega naught. Here the Cn is nothing but the amplitude, the coefficient of amplitude of the frequency component n omega naught, okay. Now we have to cross multiply this. What will we get? T into Cn will be equal to integral minus t by 2 to plus t by 2 x t of small t e power minus j and omega naught t dt. Omega naught, yes, account for the cross multiplication, so it taken this t as this side. So t into Cn will be equal to integral minus t by 2 to plus t by 2 x t of x capital T of t into e power minus j and omega naught t dt. Omega naught t dt. Okay. Here the important one. If the capital T tends to infinity, what happens to the value of n omega? We all know that here n omega naught tends to omega as t tends to infinity. So if I make the t value to infinity, tending t to infinity, so the discrete frequency component, that is n omega naught will become as omega, simply as t tends to infinity. What the value of omega naught equal to 2 pi by t. So the 2 pi by t, this t is infinite, anything by infinity is almost equal to 0 or infinitesimally small. That is, there is no gap between the adjacent frequency components. There is adjacent spectral lines. There is no gap between there is no space between the adjacent spectral lines, because we don't have the n omega naught, 1 omega naught, 2 omega naught. We don't have like that. That all becomes as continuous. The discrete spectrum will become as continuous. That is discrete spectrum becomes continuous. So for this continuous signal, there is no need to write a discrete like omega naught, 2 omega naught. So I represent that complete with omega. So as t tends to infinity, this n omega naught changes to omega. Now see, at t tends to infinity, the value of this Tcn, at t tends to infinity, the value of Tcn will be equal to t tends to infinity, that is limit t tends to infinity integral minus t by 2 to plus t by 2 x capital T of t into e power minus j in place of n omega naught. I can directly substitute omega, because this is discrete. As t tends to infinity, the discrete spectrum will become as continuous. For continuous, I have to write the letter as omega t dt. Okay. Now substitute t as infinity here. Now this will become as see here. So finally the Tcn, t into Cn will be equal to, apply the limits to this one. So then what happens? The integral minus infinity by 2, nothing but minus infinity to plus infinity, because I'm taking the limit inside the integral. Hence I applied the t tends to infinity to the limits of the integral, and I am taking that one inside. So limit t tends to infinity xt of t into e power minus j omega t dt. That will be equal to integral minus infinity to infinity. We all know limit t tends to infinity xt of t. Limit t tends to infinity xt of t will be equal to x of t. That is, as limit t tends to infinity for an periodic signal with period t, it will become an aperiodic signal, and I represent the aperiodic signal is x of t. So in this place of limit t tends to infinity xt of t, I can write small x of t into e power minus j omega naught dt. Now consider this as x of omega, capital X of omega. Consider this as capital X of omega. So what we will get? Tcn equal to x of omega. Okay. Or Cn will be equal to x of omega by capital T. So write is a separate things. Tcn, because Tcn equal to x of omega, or Cn equal to x of omega by capital T. Okay. So here I consider this minus infinity to infinity integral of minus infinity to infinity x of t power minus j omega t dt as x of omega. So remember that equation. That is a very, very important one. So here the equation is, I consider x of omega will be equal to integral minus infinity to infinity x of t into e power minus j omega t dt. So this is the Fourier transform of the given signal x of t. So this equation x of omega is the Fourier transform representation of the signal x of t, given signal x of t. Okay, so for the given signal x of t, the Fourier transform representation is this one. Okay, finally what we get? So here I am writing again. So the Fourier transform x of omega. So x of omega is the Fourier transform of the signal x of t, that will be equal to integral minus infinity to infinity x of t e power minus j omega t dt. Remember this. So this is the Fourier transform representation of the signal or the function x of t. So your problems or the concept is completely dependent on this equation, that is x of omega equal to minus infinity to infinity x of t e power minus j omega t dt. So this is the Fourier transform representation of an signal x of t. Here the x of t is aperiodic, non-periodic signal. So this is the Fourier transform representation of the signal x of t. Okay, here x of t is aperiodic signal. Now we'll go for finding the inverse Fourier transform. So for that I am considering the expression for xt of t, that is the Fourier series representation of the periodic signal xt of t, x capital T of small t. So for this periodic signal, the Fourier series representation is summation n equal to minus infinity to infinity Cn e power j n omega naught t. Okay, this one. And here already you know the value of Cn. A few seconds back you know the value of Cn, that is got the Tcn is equal to x of omega, that is Cn in terms of Fourier transform, that is Tcn equal to x of omega. So Cn will be equal to x of omega by capital T, So in place of Cn I can write x of omega by capital T. So this will become a summation n equal to minus infinity to infinity. In place of Cn I can write x of omega by capital T into e power j n omega naught t. And we all know the value of t. Equal to 2 pi by omega naught. T equal to 2 pi by, substitute that value. That will be equal to summation n equal to minus infinity to infinity capital X of omega by 2 pi by omega naught. I'm making that to the numerator. I'm making that to the e power j n omega naught t into omega naught. So actually the value is 2 pi by omega naught. So here it will go up to the numerator. So that is into omega naught. Okay. So this is the equation of the periodic signal x of t. Now I can get the equation for a periodic signal x of t from this one. So the equation is, we all know that the equation for the signal x of t, that is the periodic signal x of t, will be equal to limit t tends to infinity x of capital T of small t, that will be equal to limit t tends to infinity so xt of t, I already know the value of x capital T of t, this substitute this value, okay, substitute this value. So that is nothing but limit t tends to infinity, this value is summation n equal to minus infinity x of omega by 2 pi. See, this 2 pi is a constant, so there is no n in this, because the summation is from n equal to minus infinity, there is no value of it, this is a constant. I can bring that 2 pi outside of this one, so I can write limit t tends to infinity 1 by 2 pi into summation n equal to minus infinity x of omega into e power minus j n omega naught t omega naught. Okay. Now here t tends to infinity, we all know, as t tends to as capital T tends to infinity, the time period tends to infinity, okay, period tends to infinity. What happens? This n omega naught will become as omega, we all know that n omega naught will become as omega. So in place of this I can write omega. And what is the value of omega naught? See, this omega naught will be equal to 2 pi by t, and this value will become as infinitesimally small, very small, infinitesimally small. So this value omega naught will be very small value. That small value we can represent with d omega. We can represent that small value with d omega. That value is almost equal to 0, but not 0, it is very small. Very small value we can represent with d omega. So as limit t tends to infinity, as t approaches infinity, we all know n omega naught changes to omega. Okay, n omega naught changes, that is the discrete spectrum become as continuous, and omega naught changes to d omega. Because of omega naught value is 2 pi by t, and this is infinitely small, very small value. That small value is dependent with d omega. And next one, summation converts to integration. Summation changes to integration. Here the summation changes to integration. The summation will changes to integration when the t tends to infinity. Now what is the equation of x of t? By considering all these, what do we get for the x of t? So x of t equal to, see, 1 by 2 pi. I'm tending t tends to infinity. So as t tends to infinity, we have 1 by 2 pi, and the summation changes to, it converts to integration. Integral limits minus infinity to infinity x of omega, and in place of n omega naught I can substitute omega, that is e power j omega t, and in place of omega naught I have to substitute d omega. So the equation for x of t equal to 1 by 2 pi integral minus infinity x of omega e power j omega t d omega. So this is the equation for inverse Fourier transform. Okay, inverse Fourier. That means whenever they had given the Fourier transform of a signal, x of omega. From that you can find out the given signal x of t. So this is useful for finding the signal x of t from Fourier transform. Okay, if any signal is given, for that signal you can find out the Fourier transform by the formula x of omega equal to integral minus into infinity x of t e power minus j omega t dt. So there I can find out the Fourier transform of an signal, given signal x of t. Here if they had given the Fourier transform, then I can find out this signal x of t, hence it is called as inverse Fourier transform. So here this x of t, this is the inverse Fourier transform, okay. So we got, see, so here we got two equations. One is a Fourier transform of the signal x of t. So what is the Fourier transform of the signal x of t? So the Fourier transform of the signal x of t is x of omega, and that will be equal to integral minus infinity to infinity x of t e power minus j omega t dt. So this is the Fourier transform of the signal x of t. In the same way, what is the formula for inverse Fourier transform? So the inverse Fourier transform is nothing but x of t will be equal to 1 by 2 pi integral minus infinity to infinity capital X of omega into e power j omega t d omega. So this is with respect to omega, hence we got d omega. So this is the equation for inverse Fourier transform. So these two will form a Fourier transform pair. This x of t and x of omega will form a Fourier transform pair and represented as so the Fourier transform pair, that will be represented as x of t will have a Fourier transform. So I'd write x of t and go for a line with two sides on arrows on the two sides of the line. On the top of that line we have to write ft, Fourier transform. That is x of t will have a Fourier transform x of omega. So this is the Fourier transform pair representation. Okay, or we can represent the Fourier transform. This Fourier transform can be denoted by Fourier transform of x of t. Fourier transform are denoted by, so Fourier transform are represented by, or you can note this, noted by Fourier transform of x of t will be equal to x of omega, or inverse Fourier transform of x of omega, equal to x of t. So you can write Fourier transform of x of t equal to x of omega like this. So in this way you can denote Fourier, F for Fourier transform. Fourier transform of x of t is nothing but x of omega, or inverse Fourier transform of x of omega is x of t. Inverse means 1 by f. So it goes this way. That is Fourier transform of x of t is x of omega. You can write like any of this. So this is very, very important while going for the properties or problems. We need the representations and how to denote this Fourier transform and inverse Fourier transform. These two are very, very important while going for the properties or go for the problems. Okay. So this is completely regarding the Fourier transform and inverse Fourier transform, or simply how to derive a Fourier transform from Fourier series. So in this way I can derive the Fourier transform from Fourier series. Finally I got the Fourier transform equation as this one, x of omega equal to integral minus infinity x of t e power minus j omega t dt. Okay, and I also find out the inverse Fourier transform also. So the inverse Fourier transform is x of t, equation is x of t equal to 1 by 2 pi integral minus infinity x of omega e power j omega t d omega. So this is the, these two are nothing but a Fourier transform pair. So they can be written as x of t having a Fourier transform x of omega will be like this, or you can denote Fourier transform of x of t is x of omega, or inverse Fourier transform of x of omega is x of t. Okay, with this we finished the topic deriving the Fourier transform from Fourier series. Okay, now we'll discuss about the topic magnitude and phase representation of Fourier transform. Magnitude and phase representation of Fourier transform. In general, this x of omega is the complex valued function of omega. X of omega is complex valued function of omega. X of omega is a complex valued function of omega, and this x of omega can be represented as x of omega. It is a complex value. Complex means it has both real and imaginary parts. Both real and imaginary part. That is, you can write as xr of omega plus j into xi of omega. That is, it has both real and imaginary parts. Okay, where this xr of omega is the real part and xi of omega is the imaginary part. Okay, now from this I can find out the magnitude of this x of omega. The magnitude. Now the magnitude of this one can be represented as mod of capital X. Mod of capital X of omega. Okay, mod of capital X of omega will be equal to. So for this I have to find out the magnitude. Magnitude is nothing but square root of xr square of omega or xr of omega whole square plus xi square of omega. Okay, so this is the magnitude. So xr square of omega plus xi square of omega, or xr omega whole square plus xi omega whole square. Okay, the square of this one and square of this one. Okay, so this will give the magnitude of this x of omega, and the phase angle of this one, will be written as like this. Will be equal to, the phase will be equal to tan inverse of xi of omega by xr of omega. Xi of omega by xr. So this is the magnitude of x of omega, and this is the phase of the omega. Now using these two, I can plot two types of spectrums. One is magnitude spectrum, another one is phase spectrum. So here the magnitude spectrum is nothing but the plot of x of omega versus omega. So the plot of mod of x of omega versus omega, mod of x of omega versus omega gives amplitude spectrum, or we can call it as magnitude spectrum also. Okay, and plot of phase of x of omega versus omega gives phase spectrum. Now this amplitude spectrum and phase spectrum together are known as frequency spectrum. Okay, so this is regarding the magnitude and phase representation of a Fourier transform. First, in general, we know that the Fourier transform is a complex valued function of omega, and x of omega can be written as a combination of real and imaginary parts. So xr of omega plus j into xi of omega, where xr of omega is the real part and xi of omega is the imaginary part. And the magnitude of this one we take it as mod of x of omega equals square root of xr of omega whole square plus xi of omega whole square. And in the same way, the phase of this x of omega will be represented as phase of x of omega will be equal to tan inverse of xi of omega by xr of omega. Now this plot of mod of x of omega versus frequency, that is versus omega, gives the amplitude spectrum or magnitude spectrum, and the plot of phase of omega versus omega gives the phase spectrum. These two spectrums, amplitude and spectrum and phase spectrum together gives the frequency spectrum. So This is nothing but the magnitude and phase representation of the Fourier transforms along with their amplitude spectra, phase spectra and frequency spectra. Now we will discuss about the topic existence of Fourier transforms. These Fourier transforms are not existed for all aperiodic signals. These Fourier transforms are not existed for all aperiodic or non-periodic signals. That is, this will be existed. That is, we have the Fourier transform only for some aperiodic or non-periodic signal. That is, they have to satisfy some conditions. If a non-periodic signal or if a function satisfies some conditions, if it's after satisfying these conditions, if it has a Fourier transform, then those conditions are called as Dirichlet conditions. Okay, so for a Fourier transform to be existed, it has to satisfy some conditions. Those conditions are called as Dirichlet conditions. See, the conditions for a function to have Fourier transform are called Dirichlet conditions. The conditions for a function x of t to have Fourier transform, that is, for the function x of t to have a Fourier transform, it has to satisfy some conditions. Those conditions are Dirichlet conditions. Those conditions are called Dirichlet conditions. Here the Fourier transform is not existed for all aperiodic signals, hence it will exist for those which satisfy some conditions called Dirichlet conditions. If a function x of t satisfies the Dirichlet conditions, then that function will have the Fourier transform. Okay, and the important one is these Dirichlet conditions are sufficient conditions but not necessary conditions. I already explained about this while explaining the Fourier series. The same conditions are here also, hence there also I said that as Dirichlet conditions. Here also I am saying that as Dirichlet conditions because these conditions are given by the mathematician Dirichlet. So to honor him, they are given the conditions name as Dirichlet conditions. The explanation is same, hence I am going in a quick way. Okay, so see the Dirichlet conditions. The Dirichlet conditions are: first, the function x of t is absolutely integrable over the interval minus infinity to plus infinity. That is, the given function x of t must and should be absolutely integrable. That is, it must and should have a finite value in the limits minus infinity to plus infinity. That is, we can write integral minus infinity to plus infinity x mod of x of t dt should have a finite value. Absolutely integrable means should have a finite value. That is, finite value. That is, the integral minus infinity mod of x of t dt value is a finite. That is, should be less than infinity. So the first condition is x of t, the function, is absolutely integrable over the interval minus infinity to infinity. So in mathematical equation I can write it as integral minus infinity mod of x of t dt should have a finite value, that is less than infinity. And the second point is x of t, the function x of t has a finite number of discontinuities. It must and should have a finite number of discontinuities. So we have to capable of finding the number of discontinuities. That is, the number of discontinuities should be finite in every finite time interval. X of t has a finite number of discontinuities in every finite time interval. So in the given finite time interval, it must and should have a finite number of discontinuities. Further, each of these discontinuities must be finite. So in every finite time interval, we have a finite number of discontinuities, and each of these discontinuities should be also be finite. So in this time interval, we have a finite number of discontinuities, and each discontinuity should be a finite one. That is the second condition. And third one, x of t has a finite number of maxima and minima in every finite interval of time. So if there is a finite interval of time, in that interval of time, the signal or the function x of t must have a finite number of maxima and minima. So if it has a finite number of maxima and minima in every finite interval of time, then it will have a Fourier transform for that one. Okay, so here the conditions to have the Fourier transform are x of t should be absolutely integrable over the interval minus infinity, and x of t has a finite number of discontinuities in every finite interval of time, and x of t has a finite number of maxima and minima in every finite interval of time. Okay, so I explained all this with diagrammatic representations while I am explaining the Dirichlet conditions in Fourier series. the same concept will be applicable here also. Just these three conditions are sufficient in this Fourier transform. Okay, so for explanation you can go through that class. Okay, these three are sufficient conditions. That means these Dirichlet conditions are sufficient conditions but not necessary. That means there are some signals, a step function, or there are some signals which will have the Fourier transform. There are some signals which will have the Fourier transform even though they does not satisfy these Dirichlet conditions. That is, if any function satisfies these Dirichlet conditions, then it must and should have a Fourier transform. There are some other signals, even though they does not satisfy this condition, they will have the Fourier transform. That means these are the sufficient conditions but not necessary. So that means if you don't have to say if a function has a Fourier transform, it must and should satisfy these conditions. We don't have to say like this, because if a function satisfies this condition, then it will have a Fourier transform. Even though some functions does not satisfy this, they will have the Fourier transform. For that reason, they are saying these Dirichlet conditions are sufficient conditions but not necessary conditions. Okay, so this is regarding the existence of a Fourier transform. So for a Fourier transform to exist, it have to satisfy some conditions called Dirichlet conditions. They are: the first one, x of t. The function is absolutely integrable over the interval minus into infinity. In equation format, it can be written as integral minus into infinity mod of x of t should be less than infinity. That is a finite value. And second one, x of t has a finite number of discontinuities in every finite interval of time. It must have a finite number of discontinuities. Further, each of these discontinuities should be finite. And third one, x of t has a finite number of maxima and minima in every finite interval of time. These conditions, these Dirichlet conditions are sufficient conditions but not necessary conditions. Okay, so these are the conditions, nothing but Dirichlet conditions. So this is the topic regarding existence of Fourier transform. Okay, now I will go for the summary of this class. Summary of the class. So in this class, mainly I concentrated on deriving the Fourier transform from Fourier series. Okay, for that, first I given the introduction of Fourier transform. And then I shown you the taken an arbitrary signal and its spectrum, and spectrum by increasing the period. Okay, I have given the diagrammatic representations, and then I gone for the derivation, that is deriving the Fourier transform from Fourier series by using the concepts at the introduction and the diagrams. From the diagrams and the introduction, I take some points, and using those points I derived the Fourier transform from Fourier series. Okay, after that I gone for the magnitude and phase representation of the Fourier transforms. So there I got the amplitude spectrum, phase spectrum, and the combination of these two will give the frequency spectrum. After that, at the last, I gone for the topic existence of Fourier transform. So for a function to have a Fourier transform, it has to satisfy some conditions. Those are Dirichlet conditions. That is, for the in the existence of Fourier transforms, we have the Dirichlet conditions. I explained the Dirichlet conditions. Okay, all this I covered in this class. Okay, this is the summary of today's class. I hope you are all clear with this, each and every point what I explained in this class. Okay, with this I am completing today's class. Thank you, one and all.